Its Time from the National Council of Supervisors of Mathematics is a great resource for describing leadership in mathematics education today. And this framework, published on one of the first pages of the book, really sums things up. Let's dive in, look at it piece by piece, and summarize leadership in mathematics education today. We start with givens about standards. When the Common Core standards for mathematics were created, that process involved agreement, convergence in a number of mathematics leadership initiatives, and it's a great set of standards that resulted, both from a content perspective and from a process and practice perspective. We as a leadership community feel we've got it nailed right now. There's politics around the different assessments. There's politics around funding and how we align ourselves verbally to Common Core. But there's a great deal of agreement about the content and the practices in teaching mathematics today, and that's what's most important. The overarching themes include social justice. Every student needs the opportunity to learn mathematics, regardless of race, color, and creed, and socioeconomic status. And those opportunities have to take place on a systemic level. It's not just a matter of a few good teachers doing their job. It's a matter of schools and school districts coalescing around this leadership initiative, and thereby we are talking about leadership. And what's the leadership doing? Well, it's providing supportive conditions, certainly starting with shifts in beliefs and mindsets. It used to be we thought, well, certain people are good at math and a whole lot of others aren't. We now know the research is clear. That's not the way it is. We can all succeed in math if we have the right conditions. And so that's the vision that we need to have. The vision that we can have that success as a nation, in fact. Our nation's been behind the world. Time to make that change. And so we need to designate those leaders, and that really is what NCSM is about. That's what this book is about, is to provide the leadership framework for moving forward. The knowledge areas are important. They're in content, they're in pedagogy, and they're in curriculum. And we have come to understand the importance not only of teaching the right content with the rigor and the depth that's required, but also in teaching the right way, so that as opposed to just focusing on procedures, for instance, that we're looking at mathematics in a manner that connects to the real world and that has conceptual learning woven throughout it. There are imperatives for instruction and assessment, some of which are pretty classic. The instructional and formative assessment cycle needs to continue. We do pre-assessment, we see how things are going, we assess again. We have to have materials and resources that align, and we need to support students and have intensification strategies for students who are falling behind and who are moving forward. And we need to use the summative assessment to see how we're doing on a class level, on a school level, on a district level, on a state and national level. So the imperatives for instruction and assessment, from my perspective, endure over time. They're similar today as they were before. But the way that we're engaging in systemic change, that's pretty different. The professional learning we've had before has not been that collaborative, and coaching hasn't even really been that encouraged. Math coaching hasn't been nearly as prevalent in the last 10 years as reading coaching has been, for instance. So we need to really crank that up and do the coaching around the right content and pedagogical knowledge bases that we've developed through the Common Core movement. You know, baseball players get a lot of coaching, and there's a lot of exposure on how it's going for them, and it certainly can happen for teachers as well. We learn lessons from Japan, where lesson study and sort of the public nature of teaching is pretty clear. People see how lessons are taught and how different people approach those lessons. We need to bring that into our culture so that we as a professional teaching community realize, hey, we're all in this together. We're trying to do something big and important. Let's do it together. Now, that then involves a shared productive culture where that accountability is clear. Again, to go back to that baseball reference, we all know what someone's batting average is and how they're doing when they're pitching on the mound. And it's not a matter of exposing who's the good teacher and who's the bad teacher. Rather, it's a matter of just being open about how it's going and what we can do together to have success and to reach the needs of all those different students. And then to celebrate accomplishments. You know, back to the reference of what it's like to read versus to do mathematics. So by 4th or 5th grade, students They know how to read pretty well, and they're reading books, and they're applying their reading knowledge. They shifted from learning to read to reading to learn. In mathematics, it's not like that. In mathematics, we continually are learning more and more content. And by the time we get to about 6th grade, that content challenges most parents. And so a child, the 6th grader, comes home, hey, here's my homework, and the parents say, gee, it's been years since we've done that, and your teacher does it differently than mine. Well, what that tells the student is that their accomplishments are certainly not being celebrated. Their parents are saying, your homework doesn't matter to me, I don't even know how to do it. We need to celebrate the accomplishments of students and teachers early on. And we need to get these standards so well conveyed and the content so well taught so that 10 or 15 years from now the dialogue's different. Hey mom, here's my homework. Oh honey, I get it. And let's look at a real life example right across the street. And then we're going to apply it to your homework today. And so the outcome is going to be that great educational experience in the spirit of these Common Core standards, so that we have high achievement in students, and eventually as they grow up as adults, they're going to look at their children and know that we culturally as a society are all moving in the right direction. We no longer have a nation of math failure, we have a nation of math success. That's the leadership that we're looking for. So that's what we see in this document overall. That's what we see in the book, It's Time. That's what I see in my involvement in the National Council of Supervisors of Mathematics.